Sure. Have you prepared for your funeral arrangements? Preparing for your demise? I saw an advertisement recently giving me a price, a few $1,000s to go to my funeral expenses, and I'm like, nah, I ain't looking at that. I'm not in denial or anything as far as that one day I won't be here, but that is just not my focus right now. My focus is on my future, okay, and being alive, and how am I going to be? Am I going to be okay later on in life, okay? And so that's where I'm at. So I do believe in preparing for the future, but I don't believe in preparing for that future, okay? There's too much going on right now. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to leave anybody hanging, you know, to have to, what are we going to do with Martin when he's gone? But I'm just saying, if I take care of my future properly, however I leave this world, whatever arrangements that need to be made, there will be sufficient money to handle that, okay, as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, okay? So that's the preparation. And what I'm suggesting is that often we don't do that. We really don't prepare for our future, okay? And so if we die, we die. It's not an issue. But how are we living our life? What quality of life do we have as we get older? I'll be 66 years old this year, 2024. And I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good, pretty healthy. I try to eat right, try to exercise. I try to do the right things most of the time, And so when I look at, see pictures of old people, like in their 80s and 90s and even 100, how they look, I'm like, is that going to happen to me? And no, I'm going to be the exception. But we get old. And so I'm just saying that if we don't live long, it's not that big a deal. But the longer we live, we have to make sure that we're taken care of. And those are the situations that have to be addressed before we're that old. Okay? I was sharing with my daughter recently about some strategies about, dealing with money, dealing with finances. I was telling her that, it's very easy for me to empathize or to understand what a lot of these young people are going through, because I didn't see it either when I was their age. When you're living the moment, you're not really thinking too much about the future. And I was sharing with her, before I joined the military, I bummed across country with 3 friends of mine from Ohio through every state, all the way to California, to San Bernardino. And I've seen some amazing things. I've been through Colorado. I've seen the beauty of the Colorado River. I've seen such beauty. I've seen even through Utah. Some of the things I saw, and through Wyoming, and many places I've been. California. Now, I don't know if this place still exists, but in a desert environment in California, there was a little town called Calico that we went through. This was like in the 70s now. And the entire town was a Western town with characters all dressed up and just living the life, in the saloon, in the store, they were all the characters, dressed up as the characters. The entire town, it was amazing. I've seen stuff like that. I've been going through Las Vegas on the way, to California. The strips and all the stuff that we see. Now, this was back in the 70s, so I'm sure it's not, like it was then. But I've seen amazing things. When I did join the military, and I was stationed overseas into Japan, and I would fly to Korea to visit my brother on military transports, and we would fly over Mount Fuji. I don't remember now if I was flying in the military transports to Korea or if it was when I was flying into Japan. I went there maybe a couple of times, but I saw that Paramount Mountain, that we see in the beginning of movies and all. But the point, and I've seen cherry blossom festivals, and I've seen festivals and amazing things throughout my life. And guess what? I've got no pictures. I got no pictures. See, we weren't all carrying smartphones. This was in the 70s, So basically, you know, if you didn't have a Polaroid or in one of those little Instamatic cameras, you know, you're out of luck. And I had Instamatic cameras, but it was when I'm going out, what am I going to grab my camera for? I'm living it. I'm there. I'm present. I'm in the moment. But I wasn't thinking about one day, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, am I going to want some pictures of these amazing things that I've experienced? I didn't prepare for my future. Why? Because I was living the moment. And see, the future never comes when you're living the moment. Because the moment, you're always living the moment. You're awake and you're interacting and you're enjoying and you're having, then you go to sleep and you wake up and you're enjoying and you're interacting. You're always in the present. The future never comes. You have to take the moment and consider outside of where you're at, the future, and begin preparing for it. Man, and so we don't do that, and we should. And so, you know, something like that, I mean, that's very disappointing to me that I don't have pictures of all the things that I've seen in life, but I've seen them and I'm cool with that. But when we don't prepare in life, see, we look at time and we look at money, and we love money. But what I want to share with you today is that time is more valuable than money. Okay? Time is more valuable than money because it's through that time you're able to create the money. Okay? And that money then allows you more time. Okay? For example, like, let me try to break this down. It sounds kind of too deep, right? When my son was about 13 or 14 years old, I had a business meeting in Huntsville, Alabama. And I could have flown to Alabama. It would have taken me, however, a couple hours to get there. But I thought, man, I was remembering back on my time with those three guys traveling across country. And I thought, man, this would be a great time for my child and I to bond like father and son, you know, that just me and him. So I decided we're going to take a bus to Huntsville, Alabama from Ohio. I thought that would be great. I thought it would be fun. And it was for me, but guess what? He was miserable. He couldn't believe I drug him on that trip the whole way, man. And I was so excited, you know, pulling into a bus station at 2 in the morning with all these people, you know, just every kind of person you can imagine, and going in a bus station and waiting to catch the next bus or your bus or whatever. But he didn't see that. But I want to use that example then to explain why time is more valuable than money, because we use money to save time. See, if I didn't have much money, if you don't have much money and you need to go to Huntsville, Alabama, you're going to have to take a bus. But if you have money, you could fly. Now it's going to cost more, but it's going to get you there quicker. It's going to save time, because time is what is valuable. But, okay, we get that, right? So it's the time that's more valuable, and we will pay money for that time. So what you're doing is you're purchasing the time with the money you have. So the money is one thing, but what you're purchasing with the money is the thing that's of value. So what's of value is the thing that you're purchasing. And to you, it's worth more than the money, which is why you're willing to spend the money for the time, okay? But what I want to share with you, okay, we got that, right? But what I want to share with you is that in life, sacrificing the time now is what creates the money for later. Okay? Like you put into a 401k, you put into an IRA, you put into investments, you rental properties, or whatever it is you're doing, is you're taking the time that you could be blowing this money and enjoying yourself, and you're sacrificing your time of enjoyment for the future. So what you're doing is you're taking your time plus money and purchasing your future, because your time plus money is going to grow this money, and you'll be able to purchase a better life, a better time on down the road. Is that too deep? The point I'm saying is, sacrifice today for tomorrow is very important, but we very rarely see it, okay? Especially our kids have a very difficult time seeing it, just like we had a difficult time seeing it. It's very important. I remember, and so I guess this is the importance of investments. But investment can be many things, okay? I remember when I was at NCR, And I was a young man, fresh out of the military, maybe I'd been out of the military a year or so, got hired on with NCR Corporation. And I was hired to do a job that required a degree, a bachelor degree. But the thing was, I didn't have a degree. But I came in there and I met this old guy. And he was like old guy from like, he looked like he was from like the 1920s. He was in charge of the department. And he looked like a guy that had worked himself up from the foundry, you know, or something. I don't even know what the foundry is. But he worked himself up. He was like, had a big old stomach, you know, and he wore suspenders, had his shirt with the sleeves rolled up and opened up necktie and all this. He also had like his hair slicked back, of course, and he had a part that was like in the middle of his head and where a part should be, you know, that old-fashioned look. And he's looking at me, white guy. You know, you could tell that he probably was part of the issues that black people had in the day, but he was probably one of the nicer guys that really had a good heart, because he was a good guy. We were talking, and he said, you know, you're out of the military, and I know this job requires a degree, but I think you can do the job, you know. And he hired me, and that was very good for me. So I'm going to tell you the concept of this time and preparing for the future and all this, how we can screw up now. Now, so we, then zip to 13 years later, AT&T takes over, and a couple thousand of us lose our jobs. That was in 1994. Now I wasn't hating the company. A lot of people were mad at the company. A lot of people were just out of their minds and all, but you know, this was life. Maybe it's from being a black man in America. Just make sure I get my last paycheck, all right? For a lot of other folks, you know, my whole department of inventory management, you know, there were like 2 black people. There was me, and then there was our input operator. So you know, so then from a black man's perspective, this was in the, I worked there from 1981 to 1994, that I wasn't freaking out as much as a lot of the white folks were, because this was outside of their realm of reality. It wasn't outside of mine. But I think one of the reasons why it didn't affect me so bad, as far as me having an attitude with the company, is because I put the blame on me. See, when I worked for this company for 13 years, they were willing to pay for my education as long as my education was in the realm of this company, a business degree. And I took advantage of it. I went for a while. I went to Sinclair College, you know, and I was taking some courses, and it was absolutely free. They were paying for everything, for the school, for the books. I had to pay for them, and I gave them a voucher, then they'd give me the money back. And I was doing that for a while, and I thought, well, you know, why am I going to school just to qualify to get a job that I'm already working? because I wasn't really focused on the future. I was focused on my reality for that moment. That's all I could see. Why would I go to school, take all this time of going to school and studying and all this stuff when I'm already functioning in this position? Lo and behold, after 13 years, I would have been more marketable had I taken NCR up on that offer to pay my education until I got my degree. So what happens? I went ahead and just took the buyout, and I had some 401k money saved up, and that lasted me. So then after I left the company, I began putting in applications, you know, resumes with Standard Register, Reynolds and Reynolds, and all these companies, and bigger companies and smaller companies, to find a job sort of in the area that I was doing at NCR. But the problem was, I was hired to do a job at NCR that required a degree. So then when I'm putting in applications to other companies to fill this same type job position, I wasn't educationally qualified. That was my fault, because the opportunity had been there for all those years. But I was not willing to sacrifice my time for that education, which would have put me in a better position later. Time is valuable. So if you could utilize that time, sacrifice your fun, that time will pay off in the future. I wasn't willing to do that. I wasn't willing to sacrifice. But in my defense, I didn't realize it was going to be like that. Okay. So now I had the 401k. That was fortunate. You know how I got the 401k? Well, there was this guy. He was a big German guy. And he had been with the company for like 25, 30 years. Big old stomach, you know, dark hair, white sideburns, gold jewelry and rings and all this stuff. White dude. And cool guy. He said, Martin, he said, you need to get yourself a 401k. And you know, at the time, I didn't even know what a 401k was. I was just living a life. I was just enjoying my moment. And he was telling me how I really needed to invest in a 401k. I didn't know what it was, but I respected that man. And I couldn't you know, deny that he was dripping in money, so he must know something. And so I just went ahead and took out a 401k without even realizing the benefit of that, okay? Now, admittedly, I left that company. I had nothing to live off of but that. And so folks might say, well, why didn't you roll it over? Well, you know, I had to survive. I had to eat, right? And it worked out. It worked out. And so that was sacrificing. It's a matter of, we just have to learn to sacrifice the moment for the future, because the future is going to come. And if it doesn't come and you're dead, it doesn't matter anyway. Handle your business. So then I've left the company. 5 months later, the post office called, and I'm like, well, they didn't call. I got this letter in the mail. And I'm thinking, you know, what's this letter? I didn't know why the post office is writing me a letter. I wasn't even thinking about that. A year earlier, almost for a joke, I took this postal exam simply because they were offering it right down the street from where I was working at NCR. I went down there at lunchtime and just took the postal test. Had forgotten about it. It was a year prior. Got this thing in the mail. Come on down for an interview. So, shoot, I needed a job. I went down there. Man, lo and behold, I was a mailman. 5 months after I left NCR, I traded in my three-piece suit, my trench coat, my briefcase, my hat with that little feather in it for a postal uniform. That was 30 years ago. Now I'll be 66 years old with 30 years on this job. The best thing that ever happened to me. That's why I'm in good health. And all that walking, 26 years of walking, man, that was like health, exercise. And here I am. Of course, when I started with the post office, I started a 401k. I remember what Mr. Schultz told me from NCR, man, that was a good lesson. That's what I did. And I came up with this opportunity later. I was on the mail route one day, and I was just walking around. And I was listening to my Audible as I was delivering mail, and I was listening to this Audible book called How to Buy Bank-Owned Properties. And that was interesting. It was very interesting. And so I listened to that. That was on a Saturday, and on Monday at work, I listened to the book again, and I was able to finish it in one day. And within like 30 days, I owned my first bank-owned property. Now, I have to admit, it cost me $29,000. I took that money out of my 401k. A lot of people said, don't do that. It's the wrong move. Don't do it. I did it. I bought that property for like $25,000. I put the other $4,000 into it or something like that. And I've been wringing it out ever since, like $1,200 a month. That's been like 9 years or so. So I've made more money than it took to buy it. It was just an investment. But I was able to sacrifice the money for future. And then my future for that portion of the money came for this rental property, and I was able to purchase it. And so what I'm suggesting is that we have to be doing things now for the future. Because if I hadn't started that 401k at the post office, I wouldn't have had the money to buy that rental property, okay? Which has generated me way more revenue than the amount that it cost me to purchase, okay? That's all I'm saying. It's very important. We have a lot of work to do to it. Now, my greatest investment, so I have investments. I have like 401ks, IRAs, and they have sort of investments, my own personal investments. You know, I'm trying to do the real estate thing. But my greatest personal investment that I'm going to share with you is going to be an insider secret, right? My greatest investment is me, okay? I'm making good money after 30 years with the government. I have a good health care plan, which I hardly ever use. My job has kept me walking. You know, I calculated once, I've walked the circumference of the earth 4 times as a mailman. Okay, now I drive. For the past 3 years, I pretty much just drive. I don't walk anymore like I did for all those years. But I'm pretty healthy. I decided when I was walking that since I had to exercise, I power walked it. And since I had to power walk every day, I was going to eat healthy just from the time I got up until the time I got off of work. That's most of the time. And I'm still doing that. This is like over 20 years later. I'm eating healthy. Even though I don't walk anymore, you know, as a mailman like I used to, I do eat healthy and I exercise every morning. So what I'm suggesting is that I am an investment as well. What is an investment? It's something that you have, something that you own that is generating revenue for you, that you put into it. So what do I put in? I put into this investment to keep it strong. I put into it exercise. For this investment to keep it strong, I put into it healthy food, healthy living. To this investment, I make sure that it is in tip-top shape so it can keep producing this revenue, these benefits, as long as possible. Because this investment, me, it is allowing this investment to feed into my other investments. So I continue feeding into my 401k. I've been feeding into it for 30 years. I continue feeding into my IRAs. I continue feeding into maintaining my rental property. So maintaining this investment generates significant revenue that I'm able to invest into my other investments, okay? So now 30 years, 66 years old. But the key is I'm healthy. I'm more healthy. I'm the oldest person where I work, but I'm more healthy than most of them. Except for one in particular, and this girl works out. She's a CrossFit person. That doesn't count, okay? But all I'm saying is I'm maintaining this asset, this investment, because it's generating revenue that I can put toward my other investments. So I have people asking me all the time, so Jarvis, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? I'm like, why should I retire? No, man, 10 years and I'm out, 5 years and I'm out. I'm going to, and do what? You know, I see too many of these guys when I go to Myers. That's like my favorite. That's my therapy, go to Myers every day. But I see these guys in there, these old guys. I'm not trying to do that. When you grow older in a particular business, the function is not as hard anymore for you, especially when you work for the government. Especially because you know how to do things, you know, maybe smarter, you just know stuff. And so the job isn't difficult. The job is a little bit physically taxing. It does give me opportunities to speak to people and interact and get a little bit of exercise out of it and make significant revenue, okay? See, I'm still putting into my 401k. Thank you, Mr. Schultz from NCR. I'm still putting into my IRAs. I'm still investing. If I retired, this investment, the revenue being generated by this investment, stops. So you get the retirement from the government, you know. You get the Social Security, right? And now you have these 401ks and IRAs that you begin siphoning off of. Fine, but you're not putting into these things, okay? And that's what I'm suggesting right now is that taking care of yourself increases your life, your health, your quality of life, and you can continue generating revenue. I don't see myself retiring anytime soon unless something happens. Because I'm here. I look at my brother. One of my brothers just retired like last week, 45 years with the county. And he's been like 8 years in the military. And he's 76 years old. He had retired once and then he went back like as a contract employee. I have another brother, retired military, and he's 79 and he's still working. And me, I'll be 66. I'm the younger brother, right? So I'm continuing in this thing because I'm looking at the future. The reality is we all do have to get old. I'm still kind of hard to believe, but I guess when I hit about 120, I'll start looking old. I don't know. But we do have to get old. So my feeling is that keep sowing into this investment so I could last as long as I can, generate as much revenue. I really don't see the joy in not working to just sit around and do nothing to say I'm retired. That maybe because I wasn't raised that way. My father, he did 40 plus years, 44 or so years with the government, retired from the military and went back as a civilian and worked as long as he could until he got sick, had cancer and all. But so I was raised watching a man work, and so were my brothers. And that's what I'm doing, but the piece of the puzzle that I've added to mine is to maintain my health, I stopped smoking when I was 28 years old. I stopped drinking when I was 28 years old. I eat healthy. I exercise. I try to do the things that I'm supposed to do to maintain this. So you want to get the last laugh? Outlive everybody. Because there'll be more people coming up, so it's not like you're going to be alone. But outlive folks and be healthy. Your quality of life is so important. Man, to get old and to be healthy. Because we're all going to get old, or not. But if we get old, we want to be healthy. We don't want to be sick. Man, the other day I stabbed myself. I was doing lawn work. And I was almost done, and I saw this bush over there that had some like vines coming out of it, how they do sometimes. And I wanted to cut them out, and rather than go to the garage and get my tools, because I was almost done, I just went over and I had my knife on my side, kind of military-like style knife. And I've done this many times, just cutting it out, going in the bush and cutting that, going in the bush, cutting it out. And somewhere along the way, I stuck it right into my wrist. And man, the blood was coming out. It was pumping out, man. I was, oh shoot, I might have just killed myself. I never stuck myself like that before. I was stabbed with a sword once, so that was another story on the side. But the blood was like pumping, and I'm pressing on it, trying to apply pressure, and the whole shirt is red. Finally, it stopped. Put a Band-Aid on it. I wasn't going to do anything about it. I figured it's the man thing. I'll be well by tomorrow, and I'll just go to work. So it was about 9 o'clock in the evening. It was kind of hurting, but I had a Band-Aid on it, and I got on my sibling chat, showed my sister. My sister was a medic in Desert Storm, so she's my medical advisor, right? And she said, if I were you, I'd get that looked at. So I went on down to emergency, and they put a stitch in there. But in the meantime, of course, they took my blood pressure. You know how they do, right? And so I asked her, I said, well, how is my blood pressure? Because she gave me the numbers, but I don't follow that stuff. She says, oh, your blood pressure is perfectly fine. Okay? I'm a black man, right? That was amazing. And the reason it's amazing because much of my life, my blood pressure has always been too high. And they're always, what's wrong with you? Is it the pain? Is it this or that? I didn't know, but I know I never stopped trying. So somewhere along my exercise, somewhere along the food that I'm eating, somewhere along the way, my blood pressure kind of got to where it was supposed to be, because I'm investing in this investment, man, in this asset. So I'm just suggesting that we might just want to change our worldview and just begin to look at life a little bit different. Don't simply look to when can I retire. What's the point of that? I was thinking about it the other day. I'm thinking about when did they come up with this concept of retirement, and what was the point of it? The point of retirement, and this is what I believe, and I think I'm correct, is that people were working forever till they came to a point where they just couldn't do it anymore. And so a system was devised so that an older person who couldn't continue doing what they were doing can stop working and not become destitute, okay? And so the key there is that the individual really wasn't trying, well, at a certain age, I'm just going to stop working so I don't have to do anything anymore. That wasn't the purpose of retirement. The purpose of retirement is when you get so old you can't do it anymore, don't kill yourself trying to work. And so for me, shoot, man, I'm still healthy. I got quite a few years on me. Unless something else comes along that's more exciting, more fun, that's going to generate revenue, I'm not going to quit working. Man, I've seen people do that. I've seen people stop working and then regret it. I've seen people retire and then realize they don't have enough money to make it. I've seen people retire, end up at Walmart. I knew a supervisor from where I worked. He retired. Man, I just happened to be at Walmart like midnight one day. I needed something to get for my daughter, and I see this guy over there trying to hide from me around the corner. It was him. Don't do that. If you don't need to retire, don't. And just maintain your lifestyle, and at the same time invest in certain assets and let them keep generating revenue. And you know, my feeling is, I think I shared it in one of the last programs, is that one day when I finally do cross over, and it's going to be a while, I think, I'll be able to leave wealth to the next generations, and hopefully they'll do the same thing. So I'm just saying, I guess my value system is a little bit different, but I think it's a positive one, because because tomorrow comes, and if tomorrow comes, you want to be well, you want to be taken care of. You always want to be productive as long as you can, and recognize that time is more valuable than money. But still, it's the money that will purchase your time. Okay? How's that? Okay.